many years people have said what a fast artist you are. Are you really that fast? Give a demonstration of how fast you draw.
For instance, if I had to draw...
Oh, wow. Hey, oh my.
See, you have
Look
to draw like
at that.
See, that's how a serious guy have to draw, you know.
Sure. Now, let's stop kidding around, huh?
No, a serious artist would draw like this if I had to draw. See, this would...
What's taking you so long?
Well, because it's just generic cartoon, you know. I mean,
Son of a gun.
Well, the difference is when an artist that draws the serious comics drawing, let's say, a hand. Well, the hand has to look like a hand. The guy has to study anatomy, and the hand has to have certain proportions, you know.
Right.
But when you're drawing a cartoon hand, this is a hand.
Yeah.
See, or this is a hand.
Funny thing is, so I think this looks more like my hand than that one does.
It's just faster. Cartooning lends to speed.
Now, you do mostly cartoons. How would you do, this ought to be fun, how would you do a superhero if you were doing one?
Well, first I will start with a generic face, which is cartoon face, you know, confidence high. Then I will have to give him a cape, because all superheroes have a cape, and then big muscles.
Those are big muscles.
Well,
I should have known.
Cartoon form of big muscles. Then I've got to give him some tights. You know, and then very skinny legs, because all my cartoons have skinny legs, you know. And then he will be grabbing a villain, you know, like this, and the villain will look kind of like this, you know.
Oh, that's terrific. Do you, when you work at home, is this the way you draw? I mean, do you sit at a board like this with a magic marker?
No.
This is just for the show.
Yeah, you have to draw much smaller.
Yeah.
You know, you draw...
do you draw actual size? You don't draw it the size that it's in the book.
Double size.
Double the size it is in the book.
There's a cartoon on that side that I do for Mad Magazine.
You know, I'd like to show this. This is one of the funniest things I have ever seen.
Yeah, that's the size I draw the cartoon.
Okay, so this is the actual size you draw.
Yeah.
But besides being an example of the actual size, I've just got to show this gag. Now here is obviously a woman who's been captured by cannibals, and they're gonna cook her in a pot, right? Okay. Now that's a very tragic rendering, and we're all worried as we look at that, and we wonder what's going to happen. Luckily, here's somebody like Tarzan who hears the call, and he's obviously coming to help. And here's the punchline. This is the gag. He's standing in line with the other natives holding his knife and fork. I mean, I think that's just great. That is a typical Aragonés. And I think it's a great example of how you, as a cartoonist, are a writer, because you dreamed up the gag. I mean, you wrote the gag as well as drew it.
And you don't need any words for it.
You surely don't.
The pantomime will express the whole thing.
But that's one of my favorites.
But that's the size I draw. And also, because of the cleanliness and the sharpness of the line, you have to draw always double. The only thing these things is so you can capture, for instance, when we're talking about expressions, and you try to tell somebody about a cartoon expression, then you can go from a very subdued face that has no expression whatsoever, and then to a surprise face, for instance, you know, like, whoa! The super exaggeration in cartoon that is so necessary, you know, or laughter, you know. You saw like, you have to go all the way around, the total exaggeration, a little tear coming out. So expression is what makes a cartoon. If you don't get expression, for instance, a guy is sleeping, you know, little nose, you know, the hand like a little hand going like this. You see, it gets like, yeah. And the same expression can be done with any animal. If you're drawing a human being, but if you're drawing a dog, and you want to make him laugh, but it's the same thing, you know.
Dogs laugh like people laugh.
In cartoon land,
yes. Sure, they
Birds laugh the same way.
You give them the teeth and everything.
Yes, because it's a cartoon. You see, cartoons have the great advantage that you can draw anything you want, and it won't make a difference. If a serious comic book artist is drawing an elephant, and if he doesn't look like an elephant, he's going to be considered a bad artist. In cartooning, the drawing makes no difference.
Well,
it's a joke.
You have to draw something with a trunk and big ears and stumpy legs, and it'll be an elephant.
Right. But that doesn't mean that if you are starting your career, you have to look at a lot of elephants to understand their principle. You know, I mean, their mass, their volume, their
But you know, it's a feeling, and to me, it's just like when you were talking about being a clown. You remember when you were a swimming clown?
Yeah.
You have to be a good swimmer in order to be able to look funny. Just like a rodeo clown has to be a really good rodeo star in order to do what he does. Now, it seems to me you've got to really know what an elephant looks like in order to do a cartoony elephant.
Yes.
The same with a boat, the same with a man, the same with anything.
Well,
so it's not quite as easy as it looks. You make it look incredibly easy, I must say.
You have to learn perspective for that doing the balance. You have to learn architecture, so the houses look like a period. Then you can redraw it. When a lot of people say, well, draw a train.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing I do is go through a book of trains to look how a train looks like. Then sometimes I build a model of a train, or I go on to look at the train. You have to get into how a train works. Then you invent your own train, because now you know the elements and how they function. You start from the front, you know they have a little light over here, or that light sometimes is here, and then they have a big
cow catcher,
and then you know they have two steam things that propels the wheels, and they have two little wheels, then they have a chimney, you know. So you are talking to yourself to describing that locomotive. See, but you have seen that locomotive before, many times. Because you have to draw it, you see?
That's just insane. So then what we said before was right. You have to know it before you can do it in a cartoony way. You've got to know what the thing is.
There's no magic in this. The magic comes with a lot of practice. And
Well,
when people say, oh, Sergio, you can do it because you're a genius. This is, you are underestimating 8 hours a day for the last 20 years of practicing and many hours in the library. That's the genius part of it, is that you research and you practice.
Well, maybe you'd be more comfortable with the word talent rather than genius, but there are many, many cartoonists, and many fine and good cartoonists, but there are very few who draw like you. And I have the greatest respect for anybody who has his own style, who can do something that other people do, but he does it in his own individualistic way. Now, I don't know anybody who draws as quickly as you, and I don't know anybody who really draws the way you draw. So I think if that isn't genius, it's certainly talent.
No. It's just a lot of
a
practice.
rare talent.
A lot of practice.
And of course, this is as nice as I'll ever get to for you, because the cameras are on you and everything. When we're alone, we can really get honest, and I'll tell you all the mistakes you made over there and so forth. But that train was really great. You're not slowing down. You can keep doing. Hey, do you remember once we were at a roast? I think was it for Harlan Ellison? Do you remember?
Yes.
And I was one of the guests, and I made my little speech. And I saw you had a flipboard, an easel behind that. And all the time we were all making our speeches, you were sketching. And it was the most frustrating thing, because the audience could see what you were sketching, but none of us on stage could. Well, what is it you were sketching during that roast?
I was sketching whatever people were talking about. Like, if you were talking this story in the roast, I will be drawing you trying to see me. I will be here drawing that anecdote that you just described. I will be just doing this as you're talking about the story.
Yeah, there we were at the roast,
and
you were standing back there with an easel.
And I didn't know what you were doing. You'll be
trying to look back. Oh, you didn't get my strong macho chin in there, but that's okay. Hey, that is great. That is terrific.
The other people, they were science fiction. They were talking. And there I was drawing.
Now I'm going to show you.
That was what I was doing over there. Just
don't throw it away yet. I want to show you how opportunistic I am. Could I see how you sign your name? What does your autograph look like? Okay, now instead of throwing it over there, attaboy, Stan, I think. Yes. Stan will do it. Yeah, we're going to put this one over here, and if anyone comes near it, they're dead. Thank you, Sergio. All right, the rest of the show is all downhill. I got what I wanted. Let's see now. There's got to be something else that we can...
Groo?
Oh, my God, of course. Groo, your biggest, most popular thing today.
Well, this is the character. It's very simple to
Spelled
draw.
G-R-O-O.
Yeah, Groo.
A Marvel comic book, written and drawn by you with copy by Mark Evanier, and it's been a great seller now. How long have you been doing Groo?
We're in issue 84, so that's one a month.
84 months, has it been that long?
That's
Wow.
right, without missing an issue.
Now, Groo is a cartoon version of of really Conan the Barbarian, but he's a little bit dumber.
Yeah, it is
More lovable, perhaps.
It is on the genre of Conan. Is a barbarian. Has nothing to do with Conan.
No, I know.
But it is on the same genre like any other people who live on the jungle. Is on the genre of Tarzan, even if he's not a. And what I've been trying to do with Groo is to show that violence doesn't pay. He's an ignorant barbarian who doesn't know how to read and write. That's why he never succeeds. And all the issues here, at the end, he loses whatever he's trying because he's not educated, he just fights.
And basically, you see, people think of it as just a funny strip, a funny comic book. They don't realize the deep significance because you're also showing how important education is in the world in which we live. And they don't realize it's a great social document and a commentary on today's political situation and social mores and so forth. And they don't realize you're more of a social scientist than a cartoonist.
It's a good vehicle for it. I'm doing an issue right now that criticizes television. Of the people spending too much time on it, but there were no television on the time of Groo.
So how are you doing it? How are you
puppets.
getting? Oh,
it's
that's
a puppet
great.
show.
That's great.
So the puppet show works as a.
And you have couch potatoes watching the puppets.
Everything. Yes, the people who want instead of doing their own life, they are watching puppets. So to do puppets, you have to go into research and how the puppets are manipulated. Get a book on Bunraku and Indian and. By the time you're doing research, you get educated in another field, which is wonderful. Also.
Let's see what the puppets look. Can you do a puppet?
No, of course.
Want me to show you how, or can you get it right out of your own head?
Suppose that this is the puppeteer, you know, it's a guy who looks like this, and then he would put a puppet under his arm here, and it would be a rod puppet.
You know what's awful about you? The fact that you're so reluctant to do any artwork. It's just so difficult to get you to it.
Well, it's complicated.
I'm so lucky that you're in the mood right now. Oh, that's great.
I'm sorry,
this is the puppeteer. This is the puppet. Well, looks like one of the Punch and Judy's. He's Punch, right?
In a way.
That type.
And the problem with cartooning is that there's no difference between a cartoon and a puppet. Both are cartoons.
Yeah.
If we were doing a satire or something, this character should be very seriously drawn. But you see how
simple... To me, these are seriously drawn. These make a great statement.
There you are.
That's terrific.
And then, of course, we have to do the puppet stage.
You know another beautiful thing about doing cartoons like this? You can really make any statement you want within the framework of these silly stories. I mean, you can have Groo, you can have a story where he comments on anything. The theme of it could be against bigotry and prejudice.
That's
it could
right.
be for
slavery,
something about homelessness. And you do it in a humorous way, and that gets the point across so beautifully.
Yes, the issue I did about the homeless, it was about a certain mayor of a town who says, please bring all the homeless to my town, we will take care of them. Groo literally takes the word and brings the whole caboodle over there. And it was, I'd done issues about garbage, about...
what was the theme of the garbage one?
Filling a canyon.
Filling a canyon with garbage?
The best solution of garbage is not having any garbage at all. That's the moral of the story. So Groo goes to all the facets of it, putting it in a canyon, recycling it. No solution. Burning it, throwing it into the ocean. There's no answer. The answer is not
Can't
having
get rid of it.
No, the answer is minimizing to the point that it's non-existent. But so it's important to use a comic, have fun, but at the same time have something to say.
In your own nutty way, in this strip, you're showing that violence accomplishes nothing, that we should not have garbage. That's the best answer to the garbage problem. Well, and all of the social problems that you can tackle, you can really get them across in a humorous way.
It is just not a synonym, but it's just a vehicle, Groo, to talk about whatever you want, because you can place it in any period you want. Groo also does about one of the issues I did. It's called the Island of Felicidad, the Island of Happiness. It's just a perfect island, and when Groo arrives. And when Groo leaves, that island has become our modern society. They don't have fences, they don't have money, They don't have violence. And they don't have,
I mean, they didn't in the beginning.
No, but when
Groo
Groo arrives, start ruining everything just by changing something. It's like a symbiotic relation between all the island, and he disrupting a little bit ruins everything.
You know,
even politics are born like that, because suddenly leaders are born and coins are born. Everything is just a process of accumulation.
Do you remember the little discussion we had last night about politics and the problems in in cities and everything? I think most people looking at your drawings would never know that Sergio Aragonés is really quite a deep thinker and really quite concerned with issues today. And I think it's wonderful. And I think so many cartoonists and writers are. And it's so great if you can get your ideas across without making it seem as though you're preaching, where it's done in an entertaining way. Now, who's this guy?
Political.
A politician.
Politicians
He'd have to be.
See, all politicians are drawn one way, all militaries are drawn one way, you know, like, see, authority. Everything is, in a cartoon,
They're symbols.
Everything is a cliche.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
the problem is that we cannot get out of the cliches and more that in pantomime cartoon. When we talk about feminism and having this, people ask me, why don't you draw a female doctor? So, well, the very simple is that we still associate a woman in uniform as a nurse. So when I'm doing a gag and I says, well, I'm going to be firm, I'm going to, instead of be a doctor, I'm going to use a female doctor. I don't use words. So suddenly when you see the gag, now your attention is directed to this character, why is a woman, and you lose the gag. Because you're paying attention to this woman being a doctor.
You mean if you get away from the cliche in a gag, it diverts the reader's attention?
That's right.
Yeah.
In this particular case, I cannot get rid of that cliche. Society has to get rid of that cliche. Give me a more normal ground to work with, and when everybody understands that women are equal, then everybody will understand my joke because I dress the doctor as a woman. You see?
Now take notice, society. Don't anybody try to change this man's work until you clean up your own act first. Remember that.
When you draw in a cartoon, okay, a broken nose indicates bad guy.
That's right. Because, that's right. Or a cauliflower ear.
Yeah. If I draw a cartoon like this,
he's not a bad guy.
No, he's an accountant.
That's right.
But that guy could be the cruelest, meanest, murderous guy in the world. If we take a guy with a nose like this and a big chin like this...
He's a pug.
He's a pug, he's a policeman. If I change his helmet, he'll be anything you want, because you associate this with strength. That guy could be a doctor.
And the funny thing is, this guy could be an accountant, this guy could be a gangster, but all of us think in terms of symbols and cliches, don't we?
A soldier.
Yeah.
A policeman, you know.
Anything tough.
A boxer, you know. So the cliches
Sergio,
is how we work.
Why is it in movies, when you have a hero, you make him handsome, and when you try to get a villain, you get somebody who's unpleasant and ugly looking? Now, we know in real life, most villains look like you. They're lovely looking, and they're evil and cruel. In fact, I've never trusted you since the minute I've met you. And as magnificent looking as I am, I might be a villain too. You never know, right?
Point in case, yes.
But it is true. I wonder why we all think in such a cliched way.
Typecasting.
Is it because of the cartoonists?
Typecasting. We are the cartoonists.
Don't forget,
cartoonists.
Cartoonists sort of started it. They had to give us the symbols to begin with.
Well, cartooning is one of the earliest form of drawing, and cartooning has been going from the real beginning, before the Egyptians. And this is the oldest career in the world. But yes.
Well, you wouldn't be as fast if you were doing it in the olden days, because there's no way you could chisel a cartoon on the wall of a cave this quickly. Although you'd find a way. You'd find a way, I suspect.
The process has eliminated everything. Before, a cartoonist had to do a lithograph of the newspaper. So he had to do a lot of work on it, to spend the whole day doing the cartoon.
Right.
Now, with a new modern process, you have Xerox, you have faxes, and there's a more demand. Styles get simplified also, storytelling get more simplified. There's so many things to do in Earth nowadays. Everybody's in a rush. You cannot tell a long story. Even television hours have to become 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because that short span is not that people are becoming more stupid, it's because there's other things to do, more and more things to do.
And everybody has a shorter interest span now. It's harder to hold people's interest for a longer period of time. For instance, if you talk for more than 2 sentences, I have to get myself back to what you... Listen, I just thought of something. You have not yet drawn a female for us here, have you? And the whole world is waiting to see what an Aragonés female looks like.
Well,
and there are many types of them, I know.
The females are anything you want. I mean, there could be a a female like this, you know, which is more in the style of a cartoon female, you know.
Now, how about a glamour girl?
Well, the glamour girl, just put a little pocket note. You know?
It is incredible how you get the whole feeling in 2 lines. Oh, that's just great. I promised I wouldn't use the word wonderful, but that's just wonderful. Now, it's a little girl female.
Well, any age female have to read.
If only it didn't come to you with such difficulty. You know, the awful thing about what you're doing, people are going to be watching you, and they're going to go running to their desk and taking a magic marker and figuring, Jesus, I never realized I can draw like that.
Yes.
I mean, it's easy, and they'll try it.
Absolutely.
And they're going to get frustrated as possible.
Well, it comes, as I said before, with practice. It's like playing the piano. The analogy is, you want to play the piano, if you sit on a piano, what's going to happen? You go cling, 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 and nothing happens. You practice 8 hours a day, 4 hours a day, 2 hours a day. The more you practice, the better you become. Same thing with drawing. You sit on your piece of paper, you draw.
Yeah.
If you draw 10 minutes a day, it'll be better than if you don't draw at all. But if you draw 8 hours a day, you're going to become excellent. The more you draw, the better you become. The better you become, the more you want to learn. The more you learn, the better you become. People like your work, they pay you, and suddenly you're a professional without even noticing it.
That's the longest speech I ever heard you make without taking a breath. That was absolutely wonderful. Now, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you the problem I would have. That's great. I would have a big problem because I know if I were to practice 8 hours a day and devote myself to it for years and so forth, with my luck, I'd end up drawing like Michelangelo instead of like Sergio Aragonés, so I still wouldn't make it.
Well, yes, you would, because before I did cartoon, I drew like Michelangelo. I had to change
And you had to
cartooning.
unlearn all of that
yes,
stuff.
I know the
It must
muscle
have
and
been
proportion.
difficult.
It was terrible, terrible.
Now, let me ask you, what if you tried to draw a serious face? I mean, if you tried to draw a superhero face the way it is in our comics, would you be able to, or would
I doubt
it's just
it very
not
much.
your style?
It is not only is not my style, it becomes that there's certain proportions in an anatomy that you have to follow, no? And muscles and that will be better the more you practice it. Don't forget that I spend at least 8 hours a day just drawing my cartoons, you know. So
Sergio, I want to tell you something. I think with about 60 seconds practice, you could draw any superhero strip in the business, because that's great.
No, it is also a matter of drawing the same thing over and over. You know that in China, there's people who are an artist have to draw for 3 or 4 years bamboo.
Yeah.
And the only thing the man does is bamboo.
That's right.
You know, those strokes for 4 years until bamboo is bamboo. And then they will tell him, well, now you can do bird. You know, he goes to another graduation. So, like every job and every career, it needs practice.
In China, if a guy doesn't live to be about 120 years old, he never becomes a finished artist.
No. Also, the craft, being an apprentice, being an officer, and being a maestro, it has disappeared. Because everybody wants instant gratification on their work. You know, when a cartoonist have a chance to practice.
Well, let me tell you, as far as I'm concerned, I think if you stick with it a little longer, and really keep practicing, you just may make it, Sergio.
Take time.
Listen, let me tell you, our time is up. But I've got to tell you, I have never had a better time. And I cannot thank you enough for being here. And I think it is very clear why we call this series The Comic Book Greats.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.